Let's get some business now on the programme. Kate Moody joins us for all the latest. Kate, in the United States, lawmakers remain at a standstill over another round of coronavirus stimulus. Tell us what's the latest.
Well, as the number of coronavirus infections continues to rise across the United States, more states and cities are imposing lockdown restrictions, and businesses and households are facing more financial difficulty here. Now, for several months, Republicans and Democrats have been at odds over the amount that should be spent in the next round of relief. Republicans' latest offering was worth around $500 billion total. Democrats were looking closer to over $2 trillion. Now, last week, lawmakers tried to break that deadlock with a compromise stopgap measure, which would be worth around $900 billion. Now, a number of top-ranking Democrats, including the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, have said they would support that compromise proposal if it's something that can get passed in the coming days or weeks. The Trump administration and many senior Republican senators have refused, though, and they're continuing to push for that more limited proposal. Donald Trump would need to sign off on any legislation that's passed with a less than two-thirds majority in both houses of Congress. Now, the president-elect Joe Biden has also voiced support for that bipartisan proposal, saying that it's a matter of urgency to approve more aid even before he takes office. Many Democrats have said they expect that a much bigger spending bill will be able to be approved once he's sworn in. In particular, we know that Biden wants another round of direct stimulus checks to be sent out to Americans. That's something that's not included in this compromise bill, but he said that there's really no time to lose at this point. Now, that's because at the end of December, a number of emergency measures that were enacted towards the beginning of the pandemic will expire, and about 12 million Americans who've been put out of work during this period could lose their access to unemployment benefits. The bipartisan proposal would renew that support, as well as renewing a moratorium on evictions. Now, this is not a word that's been very fashionable in Washington in recent years, but there is indeed growing focus on this bipartisan piece of legislation, and some hoping that it could gather enough momentum and indeed votes to break the deadlock.
Now, Kate, Congress, though, has an even more urgent spending matter that it needs to resolve. Government funding will be running out at the end of the week. Tell us more.
Yeah, it's not just stimulus that's the problem here. The government could shut down on midnight on Friday if there isn't a new spending bill enacted by then. Now, there have been three major government shutdowns over the last decade. Two of them have been under Donald Trump's presidency, including one that lasted for 35 days. Reports suggest that short-term funding is likely to be passed a bit more time and push back that deadline, but only to December the 18th, according to the most recent reports coming out from Washington. We know that there are differences on about a dozen different issues, including a lot of them that are linked to immigration. We know that's blocking progress on a longer-term spending bill. Now, this is, of course, a separate issue from the coronavirus relief, but they are linked, both of them having a serious impact on livelihoods and, of course, on government debt, which continues to rise.
Yeah, Kate, and tell us, how have markets been reacting to all of that uncertainty?
Well, uncertainty never plays out well on the markets, and Wall Street has indeed turned away from its recent record highs. The Dow Jones and S&P 500 are both trending lower this hour. The tech-heavy Nasdaq is bucking that trend. It's still positive this hour. It's preparing for two big IPOs later this week. The delivery service DoorDash and home-sharing website Airbnb are both going to begin trading shares on the Nasdaq in the coming days. Airbnb saying today that it expects to be valued at up to $42 billion. Earlier, the major European indices closed mostly lower. Another round of uncertainty dragging down trade here. That was mostly linked to this ongoing stalemate between the UK and EU over a post-Brexit trading deal. And that pushed the pound sterling down against both the dollar and the euro today. The British currency, really the key barometer of Brexit risk. And for currency markets, at least, that risk of a no-deal Brexit is getting higher really by the hour.
All right, Kate Moody, thank you very much indeed for bringing us all the latest.